This plant, I got this plant from Rick. This is grandma plant, and I thought you got that plant from the nigga in the brain. We know that nigga ain't got no money in the bank.
Hmm. All right, so peace and power, everyone. Um, I'm just checking in. What I really am doing, um, looking for a new stove. I can't bake, which is putting a damper on my It's just putting a damper on because I'm cooking, and now I don't have an oven. And so I've been in the kitchen all day trying to make one of the HelloFresh meals in the air fryer, and it did work out. It was okay. It was not fried, but it was supposed to, what do they call it? Imitate fried chicken, but it was like it wasn't fried. You know how you'll use the breadcrumbs instead of the flour, blah blah blah. So it was okay. Not one of my favorite meals from them, but just trying to eat healthier. It included carrots, and so the carrots were okay. Anybody want to hop on? I'm gonna put the link in the chat box. Sorry, y'all. Now you be having your doobie, and then some of the doobie end up coming out. So that's what I was doing today, cooking. My family allowed me to sleep in, which was awesome. I needed rest. I was so exhausted. And so this is some homegrown. I am just preparing for spring, still composting. Have recovered, but have not worked out this month because it's been like 20 degrees. And so what I was sharing with you all last night was about the heat and the exhaustion of the mitochondria, which I hear not just women, but mostly women, because that's why I talk to. But the fellas too, just saying they're tired. And so if your mitochondrial cells, which is the walls and stuff of the cell, if they are not aspiring, which I liken that to breathing, it's not able to remove the waste, and it just results in sluggishness. Okay, and so we went over that last night. I got on here to look a little more into it. We're gonna share the screen and find us some videos. This stuff is just mind blowing to me. Yeah, I know I can't be on the screen doing that illegal, but grab your glass of wine and we're gonna look some more into it. Anybody that know me know I speak on a lot of things because I study a lot of things. And so when you talking about being tired and there being a reason for that, we most definitely want to dig in. The mother passes the mitochondria from the mother to the baby. This is something that cannot be passed from the father. And so we need to really find out how important this is. If it's not removing all the waste, the stuff we read yesterday said that it was even one of the causes of Alzheimer's and some cancers. Your cells not aspiring. The dude also recommended that you have an exercise regimen. So I feel like this is the only thing that's missing from my exercise regimen. And so we're just gonna dig in. Give me a minute. I'm just getting into my mood. I got the heat on the floor. The heat on the floor burning my leg. This heater, I don't even know where it came from. I think I might have got it from my grandma's house or yard sale or something. It is so strong, okay? Thank you, heater. But yeah, we're going to get in here and dig into this stuff. Last night, had my head covering on. I could put one back on. Let me consider. It's like, no, might have been in all day. But yeah. Sorry. Okay. Shout out to all the wives that be cooking and stuff. And at the end of the day, all you want to do is mind your business, okay? And so, gonna screen share, and we're gonna look up. Let me get me some professional lighting up in here. Let me see. Boom. Don't come in here. Don't come in here. In the car, probably where you left it.
It was in the kitchen on the countertop.
Well, I didn't move it. So get out and shut my door and don't come back in here. Thank you. I was in the kitchen all day. Okay, so we're gonna pull out cards first. And then we're gonna get into this information. I don't like cooked carrots, but today we had some cooked carrots. They was alright. Gotta eat like an adult, you know what I'm saying? I'm gonna check the energy of the day out. I didn't do it earlier. I meant to go over the energy for yesterday, but sometimes I be like, let me keep my spirituality separate. But it don't matter. This is like a video journal, and so sometimes it's okay to blend the lines. I brought these cards in. I love my deck. This is, I'm not going to say the name of the deck because the customer service is off, but I love this deck, I can't lie. But I do have another deck on reserve. We're going to break that one in too. This one is peeling a little bit. And I reached out to the creator, and her response was to act like I was trying to take something from her, in which she could have sold me another deck. I know the deck is out online, and being that it was peeling, she said I wet them. I did not. Why would I wet my spiritual tools, right? And so yeah, she was up there. I don't know her sign, but for me, I support us, and so that's just not a good response. So I can't buy another deck from you, girl. I love it. I told her I love them. She could have charged me for the cards that's messed up, but it was like half the deck. Nonetheless, the Supreme card is what we pulling. This is the energy I felt today. Just my coins. You see the card? Y'all see them glasses? Doing the self-work. So anyway, this is the card. I'm trying to move it from the glare. Boom. There it is. Is it blurry? Anyway, this is the card we pulled today. We also gonna pull from the New Orleans Tarot deck, and I got this off of Amazon. Not created by us, but it's helping me to develop my routine and tap into spirit. Cards are just a tool, and so remember that. Yeah, I have to get some jewels on. You gotta put some earrings on. Now I need some lip chap. I'm the only person y'all know gonna get ready on camera. Okay. And we're gonna read what the Supreme card means. Me and this deck gonna be rocky. I keep bending the cards, and it's not the best card stock. They're okay. They shuffle well. Any deck will shuffle well after you break them in. I've been had these a long time, but I didn't break them in because I was using this one. Pharaoh. Should have lit an incense. I'll get up and on in a minute. But yeah, this deck, I like to see brown faces. Let's see. It reminds me of the card we just pulled. Hold on. Okay. Boom. It reminds me of this card. Hold on, let me shut my door. It just got so noisy. Hold on. Just don't understand. I'm making a YouTube video, so can you keep it on? Okay. I know Pharaoh gotta make some extra noise. It's just doing understand. It's all the mamas. Don't it sometimes seem like your family? They acting against you. As soon as you start working, I'm in the kitchen all day. All day. I'm lighting an incense. Hold on. Oh. Okay, let's try this again. The cards. Let's look up Both cards. They both look like a wound. The Toil card looks like, baking, waiting for the breakthrough. I'll take it. Let's just look them up. And this one is her balancing her energy. The Supreme. All right. The Supreme. All is connected. All is you. And at all times, you have the power to connect fully and be your all-powerful self, the Supreme. From stardust, our immortal souls arise and merge into form. And by destiny, an occurrence just as rare as the sight of an eclipse shall ascend a true force, the Supreme. Her pure intentions are blessed by the universe as she caresses a journey that moves at the pace of her will. She is guided by her ancestors in merging all her lessons to accomplish her goals. This resilient goddess is at no time defeated because she knows she is indeed a true goddess, only bound by mortal form, and all she wishes at all times is possible. It's the guiding by your ancestors for me, and also merging all her lessons. Me being a Gemini moon, my intellectual property. I keep pulling this. And a lot of us. A lot of us are air. We have a lot of air in our chart. I have a lot of air and water, but a lot of people overthink. And so, yeah. Know the power of the Supreme is divine. This is time to accept yourself as the all-powerful goddess that you are. You are every moment in time, both individually and as a collective, history and future. By ways of your womb, hand, and mind, your desires shall manifest. Reign as above, reign as both the creator and the creation, for you are protected. The universe and all your ancestors are waiting to aid you. All you need is the confidence that you are indeed who you are, the Supreme. Utilize all that you know intellectually and spiritually to create the eternal success you are capable of. You can do it. And so that is I always read both reverse and straightforward. And so in the reversal, it says you have forgotten who you are and the unique powers you possess. You may feel as if you are sinking into darkness and your cups may now be empty. You could be losing your pentacles. Pentacles is your money, and experiencing a lack of energetic expansion. Okay. A lack of energetic expansion. This is in correlation to me to the mitochondria. We're gonna read some on that today. Okay. Because it's saying a lack of energetic expansion, which ultimately can result in you taking the ultimate defense. But it's time to relax, open your eye, and realize who you are. For at all times, you have the power. Stand in your truth with the purest of hearts, for the universe is at your aid. Don't forget who you are. You are the magic. Okay? You are the magic. You gotta tap in. If you don't have fun, you don't stay light at your heart, they warfaring against you. You gotta stay light. Okay, so that's what this one says. And again, this is the card. I just don't understand how I gotta lean this. There you go. Balancing. Thank y'all for being with me pulling these cards. Um, Sometimes I don't pull them and I be feeling bad. So we are looking up Z. Let me tell you what I do. I go to the front of the book. This is number 27. Oh, I'm tripping. That's 17. Okay. This is woman. Ooh, okay. We right to it. So this is what it looks like in the book. Excuse my polish. Need to repolish them. Okay. And see, I be drawing the little symbols just to get familiar with them. So in the day, oh no, dang man, the whole deck fell. The whole deck, okay. Okay, so in the day, there is but one light. In the night, there are many. Every man, every woman is a star. That's from Crowley in 1938. Fate upon fate, destiny upon destiny revolve across the heavens as distant pinpoints of light. The night's abyss serves as the womb of magical birth, as above, so below. Every man and every woman is a star. In the day, our star provides sun. In the day, our sun provides equal light to all. The nighttime is the time of subtle influences. Our star holds our destiny. Here, the reference is not so much to the physical entity that roams the distant skies, but to the interplay between the light cast by a particular star and the light emitted by a zone of power situated at the top of the head, called in the East the crown chakra. So, right above him, the link between the light of the star and the light that emanates from the top of the head appears as a tribe. It appears as a tube or tunnel, which allows direct communication with the reservoir of our destiny. And this was from a conversation with Michelin Linden in 1989. The star can be visualized as a calabash or a large hollow gourd containing our destiny. The great African aura, the great African oracle Ifa, is composed of descriptive readings known as the Odu, which can be understood as the big calabash, and that's from Gleason, 1973, page 11. In this sense, Ifa presents our destiny as contained within the calabash. It is as if these Odu, in the forms of stars, trace the brilliant lines of destiny across the face of the night sky. The dark night of the soul occurs when sight of the star and sense of connection with the star is lost. Then the practitioner is seemingly cut off from his or her destiny. The road is blocked. Efforts to break through end in failure or drag on into repetition devoid of result. If Zia Tilly is positioned in a reading to cross the questioner, this dark night can be expected. Experience teaches that the dark night is most likely to yield benefit if it is viewed as a form of communication between the universe and the self. Look where the blockages lie. See if they'll leave a trail leading back to actions or lack of action that offended the Lord or ancestors. Perhaps sacrifice is called for, perhaps a change of action. The aspect of the card is that of a babe in an egg, sucking his or her thumb as the egg floats in the black of outer space or the womb. Streamers of light swirl around the egg and careen into darkness. These streamers are the basis of the connection between the head and the star. Attributes of the card include the search for an understanding of one's destiny. Doubts drop away and the road is clear. So this card means the contemplation. Look into the night sky, star upon star, system upon system. Feel for the star that carries your fate. I'm gonna go out there tonight just because my husband home. I don't like going outside of the door when ain't nobody here. And I need to get over there too. But anyway, the divination for this card is coming to terms with one's fate and obtaining the clear sight and strength this action brings. Dedication to a life work. The road is clear, the star in sight. So it's telling you to go outside. And every card come with an action. This one is to go outside and star upon star, system upon system, feel for the star that carries your fate. I dreamed about my star. I'm grateful. I need to go outside and find it in the sky though. I dream about some stars, a couple of groups, but yeah, I believe this that we all are stars. I think that we stop looking up, and that disconnected a lot of people from their stars. My neighbor told me once she was outside staring, but she used to smoke cigarettes. Dang, did she smoke cigarettes? No, her husband smoked cigarettes. I'm sure. But anyway, I guess maybe she was just standing out there with him. She said there was a star over the house and it was shining so bright. And so I know that was my star. But anyway, we're gonna get back into the mitochondria. But this is even talking about the mitochondria, just you being a star, you having that divine connection, and the dark night of the soul. Usually people go through that around 30 something. I'd say 33 or 30. And it's usually just a rough time of your life. And it's like an initiation of you growing up. And I remember mine. And thankfully I was covered. My ancestors always covered me, but everybody goes through it. And so I'm gonna keep these cards and journal. This is the beginning of my week. I have to keep journaling because if I don't journal, it's not doing myself any good. Even if my journal is pulling these cards. So yeah, we're gonna get into the mitochondria. I'm gonna put my cards up first though. I'm not gonna be on here long, but I do want to come. I'm learning if I'm gonna be on here, I need to be working. Content is key. Shout out to all the creators. If you have a channel, you should be going live, even if it's you talking about something and working on something else. You got to start somewhere. You got to create content. Okay. So we just pulled both of those cards. We're gonna put this to the side, and then we're gonna get into the mitochondria. I'm gonna share the screen. Mm-mm, mm-mm. Mitochondria. Let's look up mitochondria structure and function. Boom. Are y'all ready? I'm ready. So let me share my screen. Y'all got y'all wearing. We finna learn something, and then we're gonna get up off. We're gonna get up off here. I'm gonna put this on because I be looking crazy sometimes. And I cut it back on when I gotta say something. Share the screen. Share. And don't be talking about me. Okay.
When I was a student, I'd write long essays that I'd work on for days. But now I'm writing.
Thank you for sharing, girl.
Mitochondria. Structure. Mitochondria are intracellular organelles found in almost all human cells. Mitochondria are thought to be derived from the aerobic bacteria that invade the proto-eukaryotic cell more than 1 billion years ago and lived in a symbiotic relationship with it, exchanging energy in the form of adenosine triphosphate for residence. However, this endosymbiotic hypothesis is not universally accepted and has been challenged. Each human cell contains on average hundreds to thousands of mitochondria. The exception is mature red blood cells, which rely exclusively on anaerobic metabolism and contain no mitochondria. Although mitochondria were originally represented as individual, isolated organelles, it is now recognized that mitochondria form a dynamic connected network, also called a reticulum or syncytium. Mitochondria have four main compartments: the outer membrane, which is permeable to certain ions and small molecules; the intermembrane space, which has a composition similar to that of cytosol; the inner membrane, in which are found the respiratory chain proteins. The inner membrane is folded into multiple cristae, allowing for a large surface area; the matrix, or the inner part of the mitochondrion, where most of the metabolic reactions take place. The mitochondrial DNA is found within DNA protein complexes called nucleoids in the mitochondrial matrix. Function. Mitochondria are intracellular organelles that are essential for aerobic metabolism and energy production through oxidative phosphorylation, which is accomplished by the respiratory chain. However, mitochondria are not only the ATP-producing powerhouses of the cell. Mitochondria are involved in several other metabolic pathways, including beta oxidation, the Krebs cycle, and the synthesis of iron-sulfur clusters. In addition, mitochondria maintain, replicate, and transcribe their own DNA and translate mRNA into protein. The import and assembly of proteins is another important mitochondrial function, since most proteins that the mitochondria require are encoded by nuclear DNA and translated in the cytosol. The ongoing remodeling of the mitochondrial network is also a function of the mitochondria. Additional roles of mitochondria in apoptosis, production of reactive oxygen species, calcium homeostasis, maintenance of lipid membrane, and immunity have been described.
Okay, we're gonna find something else. Excuse me. I like to hear it in a couple different ways.
I have to stop and tell you guys.
How they gonna out talk me on my video? Come back.
Today we will be discussing the mitochondria. Let's start with a brief introduction. Mitochondria are intracellular organelles found in almost all human cells. Mitochondria are thought to be derived from aerobic bacteria that invaded the proto-eukaryotic cell more than 1 billion years ago and lived in a symbiotic relationship with it, exchanging energy in the form of adenosine triphosphate, or ATP, for residence. However, this endosymbiotic hypothesis is not universally accepted and has been challenged. Each human cell contains on average hundreds to thousands of mitochondria. The exception is mature red blood cells, which rely exclusively on anaerobic metabolism and contain no mitochondria. Although mitochondria were originally represented as individual isolated organelles, it is now recognized that mitochondria form a dynamic connected network, also called a reticulum or a syncytium. As zygote mitochondria are derived from the ovum, their inheritance is maternal. Now let's look at some mitochondrial compartments. Mitochondria have 4 main compartments: the outer membrane, which is permeable to certain ions and small molecules; the intermembrane space, which has a composition similar to that of cytosol; the inner membrane, in which respiratory chain proteins are found. By the way, the inner membrane is folded into multiple cristae, allowing for large surface areas; and the matrix, or the inner part of the mitochondrion, where most of the metabolic reactions take place. The mitochondrial DNA is found within DNA protein complexes, called nucleoids, in the mitochondrial matrix. Now, let's discuss some functions of the mitochondria. Mitochondria are intracellular organelles that are essential for aerobic metabolism and energy production through oxidative phosphorylation, which is accomplished by the respiratory chain. Mitochondria are involved in several other metabolic pathways, including beta oxidation, the Krebs cycle, and synthesis of iron-sulfur clusters. In addition, mitochondria maintain, replicate, and transcribe their own DNA and translate messenger RNA, or mRNA, into protein. The import and assembly of proteins is another important mitochondrial function, since most proteins that the mitochondria require are encoded by nuclear DNA and translated in the cytosol. Specifically, human mitochondrial DNA is a double-stranded circular molecule containing approximately 16,500 base pairs, compared with over 1 billion in nuclear DNA. It codes for 13 protein subunits that are associated with proteins encoded by nuclear genes to form 4 enzyme complexes, plus 2 ribosomal and 22 transfer RNAs that are needed for protein production by the intramitochondrial ribosomes. The ongoing remodeling of the mitochondrial network is also a function of the mitochondria. Additional roles of the mitochondria include being active in apoptosis, production of reaction oxygen species, calcium homeostasis, maintenance of the lipid membrane, and immunity have been described. Mitochondria have an ineffective DNA repair system, and the mutation rate for the mitochondrial DNA is over 10 times the rate for nuclear DNA. Here are some mitochondrial markers. For the inner membrane, the markers are ATP synthase and succinate dehydrogenase. For the intermembrane space, the markers are creatine kinase and adenyl kinase. The matrix markers are glutamate dehydrogenase, pyruvate dehydrogenase, and enzymes of the TCA cycle and oxidation of fatty acids. But you may ask, how is protein imported into the mitochondria? Well, there are two ways. There is TOM, translocase of the outer membrane, and TIM, translocase of the inner membrane. Both are import receptors and translocators. Protein passes through TOM and enters intermembrane space, then passes through TIM to enter the matrix. The TOM-TIM alignment is also an important topic. Research suggests that the TIM tethers to the outer membrane and diffuses laterally until it comes in contact with the TOM, or the pre-sequence complex. Protein can enter the matrix in an energy-dependent manner. The pre-sequence is cleaved by peptidase, and chaperones assist in folding. Protein's transmembrane domain can diffuse laterally out of TIM and embed in inner membranes.
So let's say you have to read an incredibly long email from your boss.
Now they want to write your emails for you.
Well, let's explore that. In particular, let's look at neurodegenerative disorders. These are often caused by defects in translocases. Genetic disorders in TIM production results in deafness and dystonia. Now let's discuss symbiogenesis. The DNA and ribosomes of the mitochondria and prokaryotes have many similarities. The discovery of this fact resulted in the endosymbiotic theory of mitochondrial evolution, which is that mitochondria were originally independent prokaryotic bacteria with the special ability to produce energy through oxidative phosphorylation, and were eventually engulfed by eukaryotic cells. As a result, the prokaryotic cells lost part of their DNA and their ability to live independently, while the eukaryotic host cell became dependent on the energy produced by the incorporated bacterium. Let's look at some mitochondrial myopathies. Mitochondrial myopathies are the group of disorders characterized by an impaired energy production in the form of ATP that mainly affects organs with a high energy demand, such as the brain. These are extremely rare, and the prevalence is a ratio of about 13 to every 100,000. One of these myopathies is etiology. These are caused by mutations and/or defects in the mitochondrial DNA, which are maternally inherited. Children of an affected mother will likewise be affected. The genetic expression is variable due to heteroplasmy. Heteroplasmy is the heterogeneity of the mitochondrial DNA within a cell. It's caused by selective distribution of mitochondria with mutated DNA, and can result in variable expression of diseases that follow mitochondrial inheritance. Another myopathy is pathophysiology. These are mutations and/or defects in the mitochondrial DNA that lead to impaired oxidative phosphorylation, which therein causes a decreased production of ATP, which thus creates an increased glycolysis, which then causes an excessive production of pyruvate, which finally leads to an accumulation of lactate and alanine. Organs with a high energy requirement, such as the retina, brain, inner ear, skeletal cardiac muscles, or others, are particularly affected. Some common clinical features include commonly external ophthalmoplegia, ptosis, and/or exertion muscle weakness. Some diagnostics are genetic studies, including mitochondrial DNA, and muscle biopsy. Immunohistochemistry typically shows ragged red fibers, which are caused by subsarcolemmal and intramyofibrillar accumulation of defective mitochondria in muscles, or mitochondria stain red. Laboratory studies for this include normal CK and elevated lactate and alanine in serum, urine, and/or CSF. The treatment is mainly supportive. Now let's discuss some subtypes of mitochondrial myopathies. The first is MELAS. It is characterized by mitochondrial encephalomyopathy, lactic acidosis, and recurring stroke-like episodes. Other findings include muscle weakness and tonic-clonic seizures. The next subtype is MERRF. This is characterized by myoclonic epilepsy with ragged red fibers. We do know the cause. There is a point mutation of the 8,344th base pair of mitochondrial DNA in approximately 80% of cases, specifically in the mitochondrial MTTK gene. This leads to the destruction of important proteins involved in oxidative phosphorylation. Other findings include generalized seizures, cerebellar ataxia, and dementia. The third and final subtype is CPEO. This is characterized by chronic progressive external ophthalmoplegia with bilateral ptosis. Kearns-Sayre syndrome is characterized by ophthalmoplegia and retinitis pigmentosa, impaired electrical activity of the heart, especially the AV block, and LHON, Leber hereditary optic neuropathy. Let's now discuss some of the epidemiology. This most commonly occurs in teenagers and young adults, with the male to female ratio being about 3 to 1. The cause is cellular death in the optic nerve neurons, and clinical features are painless acute or subacute bilateral vision loss, which is usually irreversible. There is also Lee syndrome. The clinical features of Lee syndrome include vomiting, diarrhea, dysphagia, failure to thrive, hypotonia, dystonia, ataxia, rapidly progressive psychomotor regression, ophthalmoparesis, nystagmus, and optic atrophy. Death usually occurs within 2 to 3 years due to respiratory failure.
Honey, hold on. This is deep. I didn't even know it was this deep, okay? But we're going to watch one more. I know I ain't concerned, okay? 3D animated. Okay. Do I want this to be 24 minutes? I want a good explanation. Just looking. Why aren't they teaching us about mitochondria in school? Parts of the cell. Do we want 50 minutes of education, y'all? No offense. I just want to know. We're going to do 15. It's just like, dang, man, so many videos. But okay, so we're gonna go back to the top. We'll scroll down to the end. We're just gonna get one of these at the top. It's not too long. Mitochondria. We're gonna see.
Let's delve into the world of mitochondria, which are probably my favorite organelle. So let's just have a little review of what mitochondria are, and then we can delve a little bit deeper into their structure. So let's just think about a cell, and not just any cell, but a eukaryotic cell. So that's the cellular membrane. And when people say a eukaryote or a eukaryotic cell, they most typically say, oh, that must have its nuclear DNA in a membrane-bound nucleus. And that would be true. So let's draw our membrane-bound nucleus. That's our nuclear membrane. You have your DNA in here. So let's draw some DNA. But when we talk about eukaryotic cells, we're not just talking about a membrane-bound nucleus. We're also talking about other membrane-bound organelles. And in a close second place for a membrane-bound structure that is very important to the cell would be the mitochondria. So let's draw some mitochondria right over here. So I'll talk a little bit more about what these little squiggly lines that I'm drawing inside of the mitochondria are. This is actually a little bit more of a textbook visualization, as we'll learn in a few minutes or seconds that we now have more sophisticated visualizations of what's actually going on inside of a mitochondria. But we actually haven't answered all of our questions. But you might have already learned that, so let me make it clear. These are mitochondria. That's the plural. If we're just talking about one of them, we're talking about a mitochondrion. That's the singular of mitochondria. But you might have already learned sometime in your past or in another Khan Academy video that these are viewed as the ATP factories for cells. So let me write it this way. So ATP factories. ATP factories. And if you watch the videos on ATP or cellular respiration or other videos, I repeatedly talk about how ATP is really the currency for energy in the cell, that when it's in its ATP form, you have adenosine triphosphate. If you pop one of the phosphate groups off, you pop one of the P's off, it releases energy. And that's what your body uses to do all sorts of things, from movement to thinking to all sorts of things that actually go on in your body. So you can imagine mitochondria are really important for energy, for when the cell has to do things. And that's why you'll find more mitochondria in things like muscle cells, things that have to use a lot of energy. Now, before I get into the structure of mitochondria, I want to talk a little bit about its fascinating past. Because we think of cells as the most basic unit of life, and that is true. That comes straight out of cell theory. But it turns out the most prevalent theory of how mitochondria got into our cells is that at one time, the predecessors, the ancestors to our mitochondria were free, independent organisms, microorganisms. So they're descendant from bacteria-like microorganisms that might have been living on their own, and they were maybe really good at processing energy, or maybe they were even good at other things. But at some point in the evolutionary past, they got ingested by what the ancestors of our cells, and instead of just being engulfed and being torn to shreds and kind of being digested and eaten, it was like, hey, wait, if these things stick around, those cells are more likely to survive because they're able to help process glucose or help generate more energy out of things. And so the cells that were able to kind of live in symbiosis have them kind of give a place for the mitochondria to live, or the pre-mitochondria, the ancestor mitochondria. Those survived, and then through kind of the processes of natural selection, this is what we now associate. We now associate eukaryotic cells as having mitochondria in it. So I find this whole idea of one organism being inside of another organism in symbiosis, even at the cellular level, that's kind of mind-boggling. But anyway, I'll stop talking about that, and now let's just talk about the present. Let's talk about what the actual structure of mitochondria are. And I'll first draw kind of a simplified drawing of a mitochondrion, and I'm going to draw a cross-section. So I'm going to draw a cross-section. So if we were to kind of cut it in half. So what I've drawn right over here, this would be its outer membrane. This is the outer membrane right over here. Let me label that. Outer membrane. And all of these membranes that I'm going to draw, they're all going to be phospholipid bilayers. So if I were to zoom in right over here, so let me if I were to zoom in, we would see a bilayer of phospholipids. So you have your hydrophilic heads facing outwards, and your hydrophobic tails facing inwards. So you see something just like that. So they're all phospholipid bilayers. But they aren't just phospholipids. All of these membranes, they have all sorts of proteins embedded. I mean, these cells are incredibly complex structures, but even organelles like mitochondria have a fascinating, I guess you'd say, substructure to them. They themselves have all sorts of interesting proteins, enzymes embedded in their membranes that are able to help regulate what's going on inside and outside of these organelles. And one of the membranes that you have in, or one of the proteins that you have in the outer membrane of mitochondria, they're called porins. And porins aren't found only in mitochondria, but they're kind of tunnel proteins. They're structured so they kind of form a hole. They form a hole in the outer membrane. So I'm drawing them the best that I can. These are porins. And what's interesting about porins is they don't allow large molecules to pass through passively, but small molecules like sugars or ions can pass passively through the porins. And so because of that, your ion concentration and your small molecule concentrations tend to be similar on either side of this membrane, on either side of this outer membrane. But that's not the only membrane involved in a mitochondrion. We also have an inner membrane. I'll do that in yellow. We also have an inner membrane, and I'm going to draw it with the textbook model first, and then we'll talk about a little bit about what, since we now think this model is not quite right. But in this, so we have this inner membrane, inner membrane, and this inner membrane has these folds in it to increase their surface area. And the surface area is really important for the inner membrane because that's where the processes of the electron transport chain occur across essentially these membranes. So you want this extra surface area so you can essentially have more of that going on. And these folds have a name. So if you're talking about one of them, if you're talking about one of these folds, you're talking about a crista. You are talking about a crista, but if you're talking about more than one of them, you would call that a cristae. Cristae, sometimes I've seen the pronunciation of this as cristae or cristae. That's plural for crista. And these are just folds in the inner membrane. And once again, the inner membrane is also a phospholipid bilayer. Now, inside of the inner membrane, so between the outer membrane and the inner membrane, you could imagine what this is going to be called. That space is called the intermembrane space. Not too creative of a name. Intermembrane space. And because of the porins, the small molecule concentration in the intermembrane space, and then outside of the mitochondria, out in the cytosol, those concentrations are going to be similar. But then the inner membrane does not have the porins in it, and so you can actually have a different concentration on either side, and that is essential for the electron transport chain. The electron transport chain really culminates with a hydrogen ion gradient being built between the two sides, and then they flow down that gradient through a protein called ATP synthase, which helps us synthesize ATP. But we'll talk more about that maybe in this video or in a future video. But let's finish talking about the different parts of a mitochondrion. So inside the inner membrane, you have this area right over here is called the matrix. It's called, let me use this in a different color. This is the matrix. And it's called a matrix because it actually has a much higher protein concentration. It's actually more viscous than the cytosol that would be outside of the mitochondria. So this right over here is the matrix. And when we talk about cellular respiration has many phases in it. We talk about glycolysis. Glycolysis is actually occurring in the cytosol. So glycolysis can occur in the cytosol. Glycolysis. But the other major phases of cellular respiration, when we talk about the citric acid cycle, also known as the Krebs cycle, that is occurring in the matrix. So Krebs Krebs cycle is occurring in the matrix. And then I said the electron transport chain, which is really what's responsible for producing the bulk of the ATP, that is happening through proteins that are straddling the inner membrane, or straddling the cristae right over here. Now, we're not just done, and probably one of the most fascinating parts about mitochondria, we said that we think that they are descendant from these ancient independent life forms. And in order to be an ancient independent life form, they would have to have some information, some way to actually transmit their genetic information. And it turns out mitochondria actually have their own genetic information. They have mitochondrial DNA. And they often don't just even have one copy of it, they have multiple copies of it. And they're in loops, very similar.
Listen, so if you are worn out, you wouldn't be able to access this energy. Okay? This is so serious, y'all. If you, hold on. If you are burnt out on this energy, you won't be able to cross over to an ancient one, number one. But just the whole idea of a lot of people develop disease because this is run out in them. They're tired, exhausted, don't know what to do, and the health suffers. But yeah, I gotta use the restroom. I'm gonna let this play. Hold on. Ain't holding no
Similar,
more.
very similar to bacterial DNA. In fact, they have a lot in common with bacterial DNA, and that's why we think that the ancestor to mitochondria that lived independently was probably a form of bacteria or related to bacteria in some way. So this is this right over there. That is the loop of mitochondrial DNA. So all of the DNA that's inside of you, the bulk of it, yes, it is in your nuclear DNA, but you still have a little bit of DNA in your mitochondria. And what's interesting is your mitochondrial DNA, your mitochondria are inherited essentially from your mother's side, because when an egg is fertilized, a human egg has tons of mitochondria in it. It has tons of mitochondria, and I'm obviously not drawing all of the things in the human egg. It obviously has a nucleus and all of that. The sperm has some mitochondria in it. You can imagine it needs some energy to be able to win that very competitive fight to get to fertilize the egg. But the current theories are, well, most of that gets digested and dissolved once it actually gets into the egg. And anyway, the egg itself has way more mitochondria. So the DNA in your mitochondria is from your mother, or is essentially from your mother's side. And that's actually used, mitochondrial DNA, when people talk about kind of an ancient Eve or tracing back to having kind of one common mother, people are looking at the mitochondrial DNA. So it is actually quite fascinating. Now, I said a little bit earlier, and obviously it has its own DNA, and then because it has its own DNA, it's able to synthesize some of its own RNA, its own ribosomes. So it also has ribosomes here. But it doesn't synthesize all of the proteins that are sitting in mitochondria. A lot of those are still synthesized by, or coded for by your nuclear DNA, and are actually synthesized outside of the mitochondria and then make their way into the mitochondria. But mitochondria are these fascinating things that they're all, they're these little creatures living in symbiosis in our cells, and they're able to replicate themselves. And I don't know, I find all of this mind-boggling. But anyway, I said that this was the textbook model. Because it turns out, when you look at a micrograph, a picture of mitochondria, it seems to back up this textbook model of these folds, these cristae just kind of folding in. But when we've been able to have more sophisticated visualizations, it actually turns out that it's not just these simple folds, that the inner membrane essentially pokes into the matrix, and it turns out it has these little tunnels that connect the space inside of the cristae to the intermembrane space. So I like to think about this because it makes you realize, we look in textbooks and we take these things like mitochondria for granted, like, oh yeah, of course, that's where the ATP factories are. But it's still an area for visualization and research to fully understand exactly how they work and even how they are structured. That this baffle model, where you see these cristae kind of just coming in and out of the different sides. This is actually no longer the accepted model for the actual visualization, the structure of mitochondria. Something more like this, something more where you have this cristae junction model where you have, if I were to draw a cross section, where I drew the outer membrane, the inner membrane. I'll just draw, has these little tunnels to the actual to the space inside of the cristae. This is actually now the more accepted visualization. So I want you to appreciate that, when in biology you read something in a textbook, you kind of say, oh, people have figured all this stuff out, but people are still thinking more about, well, how does this structure work? What is the actual structure? And then how does it actually let this organelle, this fascinating organelle, do all of the things that it needs to do?
Okay. So
Try this 6-second method tonight to reverse type 2 diabetes. Most people continue to take
Understanding PQQ and CoQ10 in combination takes us inside our cells. Concerning PQQ, there is exciting new information at the cellular level. Dr. Urban here. My channel is devoted to anti-aging and reverse aging. Ordinarily, I would discuss PQQ and CoQ10 in separate videos. That would be a disservice or short-sighted, because combining PQQ with CoQ10 is when the cellular magic happens. CoQ10 has been around forever. Indeed, our bodies make the vitamin-like CoQ10. The problem is we make less CoQ10 as we get older. Low CoQ10 causes cellular energy production to decline. This can be critical for heart function, even more so when one is on statin medications. PQQ is found in all plants. Only supplementation gives you enough PQQ. PQQ is a superior antioxidant able to assist the cell with as many as 20,000 reactions compared to vitamin C's 4. Mitochondria are energy packets or furnaces in our cells. Our body's energy is produced in mitochondria. Mitochondria naturally degenerate and die as we age. As a result, we have less energy and all the problems that come with less energy: fatigue, lethargy, brain fog, etc. PQQ repairs and protects our damaged mitochondria and, are you ready? Generates new, that's right, new mitochondria in a process called the fountain of youth, also known as mitochondrial biogenesis. Some of the medical benefits of this fountain of youth include increased lifespan, memory and cognitive protection, decreased inflammation, improved energy production and utilization, Alzheimer's protection, reducing the likelihood of severe stroke, and much more. Combining CoQ10 and PQQ is the way to go from now on. And Dr. Al Sears MD, anti-aging clinician and researcher, conducts a yearly anti-aging conference. He also has an anti-aging clinic treating patients from all over the world. Dr. Sears brought liquid CoQ10 or ubiquinol to the U.S. Dr. Sears now recommends combining PQQ with CoQ10. Dr. Sears Ultra Excel is his PQQ CoQ10 supplement already upgraded ×1. This has been a short presentation. I always deliver short videos as I promised.
Okay. So let's go here. Looks good.
What's up, you guys? My name is Monsol. I'm with Nutripedia, and today we're going to talk about PQQ. All right, guys, PQQ. Now, I'm not even going to try and say the name. Pyrroloquinoline quinone, pyrroloquinoline quinone, pyrroloquinoline quinone, pyrroloquinoline quinone. Whatever. PQQ is a neuroprotective antioxidant, and it's one of my favorite nootropics for improving mitochondrial health on a regular basis. Now, guys, there is a ton of different benefits for PQQ. A lot of the evidence hasn't been done in humans, but in animals it's very, very promising. And if any of you have watched my channel, you know that I'm a really big proponent of improving mitochondrial health. The mitochondria, if you remember, those are like the energy factories. Those are basically the energy factories in our body and our cells, and PQQ helps to improve mitochondrial health. In fact, a study showed that PQQ could increase the number of mitochondria in animals by 20 to 30%. Now, even if it's only in animals, we can expect maybe a similar experience in humans as well. Now, guys, of course, the benefit of this is more energy, more ability for our brain to do work. And when I mean work, I mean that our brain can actually remember things better, learn things better, focus more attentively, and clear out toxins more effectively. That's one of the reasons why increasing the energy in our mitochondria is so important. So, guys, the second benefit is for neurogenesis. A study showed that PQQ could actually improve nerve growth factor, or NGF, by 40 times. Now, this is really important for anybody who wants to develop neurological connections, and essentially that's everybody. So this is a really great foundational tool for neurogenesis. Now, the third benefit is as a neuroprotective agent. And PQQ is neuroprotective, like I said, because it improves mitochondrial health, it's an antioxidant, and it helps to clear away many of the toxins and some of the buildup of plaques in the brain. Now, this is something that a lot of different mitochondrial drugs can do, and one of the combinations that I'm going to talk about is PQQ plus CoQ10. Now, a study of PQQ plus CoQ10 combined showed that it can improve verbal memory performance where neither PQQ nor CoQ10 could do so by themselves. So there seems to be a somewhat synergistic effect between CoQ10 and PQQ. So, guys, there are very few documented side effects of PQQ, but it can create problems with toxicity if you take too high of a dosage. Now, the standard dosage is 20 milligrams per day, and if you think that something like PQQ, which helps in mitochondrial health, is a drug where more is better, that might not be the case. So I would caution you, start with the recommended dosage. If you're going to combine PQQ and CoQ10, do in the range of 200 to 300 milligrams of CoQ10 and about 20 milligrams of PQQ. So, guys, I hope you've enjoyed the video. PQQ is one of my favorite nootropics. If you want to learn more, go ahead and click the link right here. You'll be taken to the Nutripedia page, all about PQQ, all the studies, all the evidence, and even some reviews and anecdotes. So subscribe to the channel.
All right, buddy. We appreciate you.
If you want to eat healthy and feel your best, you gotta
you
try
go out in the
Kashava.
world and share this information.
Kashava is the world's healthiest all-in-one meal.
The latest advance in the area of mitochondrial bioenergetics is the coenzyme pyrroloquinoline quinone, or PQQ. PQQ's critical role across a range of biological functions has only gradually emerged. Just like CoQ10, it is a micronutrient whose antioxidant capacity provides extraordinary defense against mitochondrial decay. But the most exciting revelation on PQQ emerged early in 2010, when researchers found it not only protected mitochondria from oxidative damage, it stimulated growth of fresh mitochondria. PQQ is ubiquitous in the natural world. Its presence in interstellar stardust has led some experts to hypothesize a pivotal role for PQQ in the evolution of life on Earth. It has been found in all plant species tested to date. Neither humans nor the bacteria that colonize the human digestive tract have demonstrated the ability to synthesize it. This has led researchers to classify PQQ as an essential micronutrient. PQQ's potential to stimulate mitochondrial biogenesis was foreshadowed by repeated early findings indicating its central role in growth and development across multiple forms of life. It has been shown to be a potent growth factor in plants, bacteria, and higher organisms. Preclinical studies reveal that when deprived of dietary PQQ, animals exhibit stunted growth, compromised immunity, impaired reproductive capability, and most importantly, fewer mitochondria in their tissue. Rates of conception, the number of offspring, and survival rates in juvenile animals are also significantly reduced in the absence of PQQ. Introducing PQQ back into the diet reverses these effects, restoring systemic function while simultaneously increasing mitochondrial number and energetic efficiency. As the primary engines of almost all bioenergy production, the mitochondria rank among the physiological structures most vulnerable to destruction from oxidative damage. PQQ's formidable free radical scavenging capacity furnishes the mitochondria with superior antioxidant protection. At the core of this capacity is an extraordinary molecular stability. As a bioactive coenzyme, PQQ actively participates in the energy transfer within the mitochondria that supplies the body with most of its bioenergy, like CoQ10. Unlike other antioxidant compounds, PQQ's exceptional stability allows it to carry out thousands of these electron transfers without undergoing molecular breakdown. It has been proven especially effective in neutralizing the ubiquitous superoxide and hydroxyl radicals. According to the most recent research, PQQ is 30 to 5,000 times more efficient in sustaining redox cycling, which is mitochondrial energy production, than other common antioxidant compounds such as vitamin C. A consistent finding in the scientific literature is that nutrients like PQQ provide more wide-ranging benefits than conventional antioxidants the general public relies on. PQQ's dual capacity as a cell signaling modulator and a superior antioxidant renders it optimally effective in combating degenerative disease and age-related declines in the body's most energetic organs, the heart and the brain. The revelation of its ability to favorably affect system-wide cell development, metabolism, and mitochondrial biogenesis affords an explanation for a wealth of data on its neuroprotective and cardioprotective benefits. Okay, first, let's look at neuroprotection. PQQ has been shown to optimize health and function of the entire central nervous system. It reverses cognitive impairment caused by chronic oxidative stress in preclinical models, improving performance on memory tests. It has also been shown to safeguard the Parkinson's disease gene, DJ1, from self-oxidation, which is an early step in the onset of disease. Reactive nitrogen species, RNS, like reactive oxygen species, impose severe stresses on damaged neurons. They arise spontaneously following stroke and spinal cord injuries and have been shown to account for a substantial proportion of subsequent long-term neurological damage. PQQ suppresses RNS in experimentally induced strokes. It also provides additional protection by blocking gene expression of inducible nitric oxide synthase, INOS, which is a major source of RNS following spinal cord injury. PQQ powerfully protects brain cells against oxidative damage following ischemia reperfusion injury, the inflammation and oxidative damage that result from the sudden return of blood and nutrients to tissues deprived of them by stroke. Given immediately before induction of stroke in animal models, PQQ significantly reduces the size of the damaged brain area. PQQ also interacts in a beneficial manner with our brain's neurotransmitter systems. In particular, PQQ protects neurons by modifying the important NMDA receptor site. NMDA is a powerful mediator of excitotoxicity, a response to long-term overstimulation of neurons that is associated with many neurodegenerative diseases and seizures. PQQ also protects against neurotoxicity induced by other toxins, including mercury. Mitochondrial dysfunction has been definitively linked to virtually all killer diseases of aging, from Alzheimer's disease and type 2 diabetes to heart failure. Researchers have recorded evidence of greater mitochondrial damage in the brain cells of humans over the age of 70 compared to those in their early 40s. Many scientists believe mitochondrial longevity determines overall longevity. A next-generation coenzyme is being introduced called pyroquinoline quinone, or PQQ for short, that has been shown to induce mitochondrial biogenesis, which is the growth of new mitochondria in aging cells. While CoQ10 optimizes mitochondrial function, PQQ does more. It activates genes that govern mitochondrial reproduction, protection, and repair. PQQ also affords potent cardioprotection and defense against neuronal or brain degeneration. Published studies show that 20 milligrams of PQQ plus 300 milligrams of CoQ10 may reverse age-related cognitive decline in aging humans. A mounting body of evidence points to PQQ as a potent intervention in Alzheimer's disease and Parkinson's disease. Both are triggered by accumulation of abnormal proteins that initiate a cascade of oxidative events resulting in brain cell death. PQQ prevents development of a protein associated with Parkinson's disease. This protein is alpha-synuclein. It also protects nerve cells from the oxidizing ravages of the amyloid beta protein linked with Alzheimer's disease. A 2010 study revealed that PQQ could prevent formation of amyloid beta molecular structures. PQQ has also been shown to protect memory and cognition in both aging humans and animals. It stimulates production and release of nerve growth factor in cells that support neurons in the brain. This may partially explain why PQQ supplementation of aging rats resulted in marked improvement of their memory function. In humans, supplementation with 20 milligrams per day of PQQ resulted in improvements on tests of higher cognitive function in a group of middle-aged and elderly people. These effects were significantly amplified when the subjects also took 300 milligrams per day of CoQ10. In cell biology, mitochondria are unique among other cellular components in one vital aspect. They possess their own primitive DNA, distinct from the DNA housed within the cell nucleus that you normally think of as the building block of all living organisms. Mitochondrial DNA closely resembles bacterial DNA, the result of an evolutionary legacy. Biologists believe that at one time our mitochondria existed as separate, highly energetic organisms. Our primordial ancestor cells aggressively engulfed and incorporated these pro-mitochondria into their own internal structure. This furnished our cellular progenitors with two powerful evolutionary advantages. It harnessed the ability of pro-mitochondria to produce vast quantities of energy from oxygen and served to boost cellular longevity. This simple fact has profound implications for the science of anti-aging. Why? You already know that cells in your body have the capacity to divide and replicate themselves owing to the presence of nuclear DNA. If mitochondria possess their own DNA, it follows that they should also have the ability to replicate themselves and increase their number within a single human cell. This turns out to be the case. Human cells may house anywhere from 2 to 2,500 mitochondria. depending on tissue type, nutrition, antioxidant status, and other factors. Put differently, one cell may contain over 1,000 times more mitochondria than another. The more high-functioning mitochondria in your body, the greater your overall health and longevity. This is no longer a matter of conjecture. A growing number of cell biologists now espouse the theory that mitochondrial number and function determine human longevity. The problem is that the scientifically validated methods available to spontaneously increase the number of new mitochondria in our aging bodies are exceedingly difficult. To date, the only known ways to reliably stimulate mitochondrial biogenesis, sustained calorie restriction, or strenuous physical activity, are far too rigorous or impractical for most aging individuals. A nutrient with the power to safely trigger mitochondrial biogenesis would naturally mark an extraordinary advance in the quest to halt and reverse cellular aging. PQQ has emerged as that nutrient. As with stroke, damage and heart attack is inflicted via ischemia-reperfusion injury. Supplementation with PQQ reduces the size of damaged areas in animal models of acute heart attack or myocardial infarction. This occurs whether the supplement is given before or after the ischemic event itself. To further investigate this potential, researchers at the VA Medical Center at UC San Francisco compared PQQ with metoprolol, a beta blocker that is standard post-MI clinical treatment. Given alone, both treatments reduce the damaged area's size and protect it against heart muscle dysfunction. But when they were given together, the left ventricle's pumping pressure was enhanced. The combination also increased mitochondrial energy-producing functions, but the effect was small compared with PQQ alone, and only PQQ favorably reduced lipid peroxidation. The remarkable conclusion: PQQ is superior to metoprolol in protecting mitochondria from ischemia-reperfusion oxidative damage. Subsequent research from the same team has demonstrated that PQQ helps heart muscle cells resist acute oxidative stress. The mechanism: preserving and enhancing mitochondrial function. A team of researchers at the University of California decided to analyze PQQ's influence over cell signaling pathways involved in the generation of new mitochondria. Their work, published in 2010, led to several extraordinary discoveries. They found that PQQ's critical role in growth and development stems from its unique ability to activate cell signaling pathways directly involved in cellular energy metabolism, development, and function. Cells undergo spontaneous mitochondrial biogenesis through the effects of three signaling molecules activated by PQQ. PQQ activates expression of PCG1A. PCG1A is a master regulator that mobilizes your cell's response to various external triggers. It directly stimulates genes that enhance mitochondrial and cellular respiration, growth, and reproduction. Its capacity to upregulate cellular metabolism at the genetic level favorably affects blood pressure, cholesterol, and triglyceride breakdown, and the onset of obesity. PQQ triggers a signaling protein known as CREB. CREB plays a pivotal role in embryonic development and growth. It also beneficially interacts with histones, molecular compounds shown to protect and repair cellular DNA. CREB also stimulates the growth of new mitochondria. PQQ regulates a recently discovered cell signaling protein called DJ1. As with PCG1A and CREB, DG1 is intrinsically involved in cell function and survival. It has been shown to prevent cell death by combating intensive antioxidant stress and is of particular importance to brain health and function. DJ1 damage and mutation have been conclusively linked to the onset of Parkinson's disease and other neurological disorders. These findings shed light on the results of prior studies where a PQQ deficiency in juvenile mice, for example, resulted in elevated plasma glucose concentrations, a 20 to 30% reduction in the number of mitochondria in the liver, and consequent impairment in oxygen metabolism. These are hallmark indicators of mitochondrial dysfunction. Additional animal models also suggested significant alterations in mitochondrial numbers. Taken together, these results confirm PQQ's power to significantly boost mitochondrial number and function, the key to cellular anti-aging and longevity. Cell aging occurs as each cell's ability to reproduce itself inexorably declines. This decline is in turn associated with the gradual degradation and destruction of the DNA complex. Overlooked in this process is the equally important role of the mitochondria's robust ability to reproduce as you age. Just as degradation of the cellular DNA complex ultimately leads to senescence and death, degradation of the mitochondrial DNA complex leads to the death of the mitochondria and the ultimate extinction of the cell and the host organism. This death spiral of genetic degradation is accelerated in the mitochondria by the very physiological function they must perform. As the nuclear generators responsible for almost all bioenergetic production, mitochondria are the site of enormous oxidative activity. A nearly incalculable number of electrons are constantly flowing within the mitochondria, throwing off an equally enormous number of free radicals. This makes them highly vulnerable to biochemical insults. There is an additional threat, as scientists have discovered over the past several decades. Relative to nuclear DNA, mitochondrial DNA possesses few defenses against free radical damage. Cellular DNA is protected by numerous guardian proteins, histones, and repair enzymes that act to blunt the impact of free radicals. No such repair systems exist to protect mitochondrial DNA. Cellular DNA also enjoys superior structural defenses. It is housed within a protective bubble membrane that separates it from the rest of the cell. This double membrane is complemented by a dense matrix of filament proteins called the nuclear lamina, a kind of hard shell casing to further buffer DNA from external impacts. By comparison, mitochondrial DNA is left almost entirely exposed. It attaches directly to the inner membrane where the mitochondria's electrochemical furnace rages continuously, generating an enormous volume of toxic reactive oxygen species. Accordingly, mitochondrial DNA mutates at a much higher rate than cellular DNA. When you consider that the mitochondria supply at least 95% of the energy required for all physiological processes in your body, the need to maintain the integrity of mitochondrial DNA takes on even greater urgency. All aging humans should take every step to safeguard the genes that regulate healthy mitochondrial proliferation from lethal mutation. This is supported by an abundance of scientific studies linking genetic mutation within the mitochondria to human aging. PQQ's extraordinary antioxidant capacity represents a powerful new intervention that may effectively reinforce the mitochondria's limited defenses. The information you just heard comes from an article in the Life Extension magazine's February edition 2011. The article was called Generate Fresh Mitochondria with PQQ, Scientists Discover the Other CoQ10. If you like the information you just heard, please support us by subscribing to this YouTube channel, but most importantly, by purchasing.
All right. So, we have just learned a little more about PQQ and also the mitochondrial function inside of the cell. My mind is blown because, number one, I know a couple of people, my grandmother and my auntie, that are suffering with Alzheimer's. And so that's just one of the things I deal with mentally, thinking about forgetting my memories, right? And so this is relieving information. Like I said, I'm going to keep researching until I decide on a brand, but I'll definitely be supplementing with this. And like I said, I've already tried the CoQ10 or however they say it. I didn't know to use it with PQQ. And so I wasn't even paying attention to whether I had more energy or not. It was just for brain health and heart health. So I want to look up one more video because I want to know something about the other supplement, which is NAD. They said that's critical in weight loss. So I'm gonna look it up and then I'm gonna be NAD supplements. I mean, it's so much information. What is a NAD IV? They even got an IV for it, okay? We'll hear him talk about it.
What's up, you guys? My name's Monsel. I'm with Nutripedia, and today we're going to talk about NAD+, or a cheaper way to improve your NAD+ levels, reduce aging at 5.5% the cost of a nicotinamide riboside supplement. So guys, I've done videos on nicotinamide riboside on this channel before, and I'm still a big proponent of this supplement in order to improve NAD+ and reduce many of the markers that are associated with aging. Now, if you remember, the main benefit of nicotinamide riboside is that it produces NAD+, and this NAD+ is a really important biomarker or nucleotide that we use as humans to improve our mitochondrial health. Now go back to high school biology, and if you remember, the mitochondria in the cell is the powerhouse, or essentially the region of the cell that produces ATP, or energy. So anything that we do to improve the health of our mitochondria is a huge benefit for our body, all of our mechanisms in the short term, but also in the long term for aging and longevity. Now for some people, it's not a problem at all, but I did want to offer this simple solution or trick that you can use to get NAD+ in the same levels that you would, but you don't have to spend a lot of money. So if you look at the Life Extension brand of nicotinamide riboside, you'll find that it takes about $1.10 per day to get the dosage of nicotinamide riboside. That's taking 200 milligrams per day. Now, what I've found is that niacinamide, or a version of niacin, is actually a great way to improve your nicotinamide levels, and then the liver produces the ribose that's needed to create the NAD+. So this supplement from Now Foods that I found, niacinamide at 500 milligrams, if you take this every day, you will need only about 5 cents per day in order to get the NAD+, about the same as if you took a nicotinamide riboside supplement. So that's 5.5% of the cost you would normally have by.
The other supplement he's talking about, I used to use, I call it niacin for short. That's, I get it. One is the natural form and the other is a chemical created in a lab. And so I also use this for circulation or energy because that's what it's good for. It's like a form of B12. So good for your blood. But anyway, first play.
Buying a nicotinamide riboside supplement, and the only reason you wouldn't be able to utilize this is if you have some sort of liver problem or some sort of liver damage. So if that's the case, then stick to the nicotinamide riboside, but otherwise, if you're a healthy adult, I really suggest the Now Foods niacinamide. Now Foods manufacturer you can just find on Amazon. It's a very reputable brand, but the point is, you're going to be able to take advantage of a far cheaper version that will help you to do the same thing in your anti-aging and longevity endeavors. So anyway, guys, hope that's been useful. Quick video, but a useful one. See you next time.
All right, buddy. All right. I never knew it was used for that. But again, I was using it for energy and circulation. Who is this? Sean. I'm just trying to find one more video on this. It's supposed to be the one that's good for weight loss. Of course.
Manscaped. Yeah. Your
Let's show
balls
this
will
brother
thank
some
you.
love.
Today, I've got our first look and hands-on with their new Lawnmower 4.
So Dr. David Sinclair is a biologist and a professor of genetics. And he says that we can 100% influence our aging process in a positive way, as well as pushing out our lifespan, extending our lifespan if we adopt certain protocols to activate what's called sirtuins. Now, let me tell you what a sirtuin is. Sirtuin is a protein enzyme that regulates cell functions, including aging, circadian rhythm, detoxification, inflammation, fat and glucose metabolisms, and mitochondrial biogenesis. So there's another thing that we want to pay attention to as well in terms of aging and all of these other issues, and that is telomeres. And what telomeres is just it's a section of DNA that's at the end of chromosomes. Now that's important because as we age, they get shorter. Those ends get shorter, and the shorter they get, the more rapidly we age. But it can be also shortened by stress, poor diet, lack of exercise, obesity, things like that. Short telomeres are connected to premature cellular aging. That's something that you don't want. All of the cellular death can lead to cancer, autoimmune issues, and one of the worst ones, neurodegeneration. Now, it's a reason why I'm talking about all of this, okay? And that reason is NAD3. And specifically NAD. NAD3 is a product, right? We call it the fountain of youth. So let's go back to sirtuins. Sirtuins cannot function without the presence of NAD in the body. NAD is a coenzyme that's found in all living cells throughout the body. It is vital to cellular metabolism. You absolutely need this. So let me talk about some of the things that happens when you have an ample supply of NAD in the body, all right? It keeps you young, straight up. It literally is the fountain of youth. Your boy's 44 years old, all right? And I feel like I'm 24, right? You see, I'm active every day, get plenty of sleep, restful sleep. I'm always in a good mood, full of energy. A huge part of that is not just my lifestyle, the fact that I train, I eat properly, I do all the things that I'm supposed to do, but I also supplement with NAD3, all right? So I want to get into some of the things that it do. And the most important thing for me that it does is what it does cognitively, what it does for your brain, okay? It enhances neurological functions. Another one is it reduces pain. Sirtuins aid in fighting inflammation, hence less inflammation, less pain. It's pretty simple. It also boosts energy. You have this certain feeling of this enhanced feeling of vitality. and this is real. I started taking N83 probably we're in 2021, probably in 2018. And it's been a game changer for me, right? And I've been talking about it too. It's not like I've been keeping it a secret. I talk about it, but some of y'all are really young. This doesn't affect you, but this is something that you should hop on when you're young, right? Just to be rolling. So I went and did NAD therapy, and that's with the IV. It's very expensive. It's not realistic for people to do it on a regular unless they're super rich. But anyway, I went and did it. Sean and I went and did it. And the things that you normally feel from therapy, I felt none of it. Why? Because I had such high levels of NAD already because I supplement with my NAD3 every single day. It is the fountain of youth. The science is there. I will link published studies and papers and articles down below so you guys can read for yourself. You don't have to take my word. I don't want you to take my word. I want you to do the research on your own. All right. This is something, listen, they're always coming up with something to help give us a better quality of life. And that's very important. Okay. Especially with matters of the brain and cognitive functioning. I'm all about my brain operating properly. So anything that I can do to make this work better, I'm all with it, right? So the cool thing about NAD3 though is it does so much more than that. So much more than that. It's such a powerful supplement. It's a very important one. If you haven't heard about it, you're going to be hearing more about it in the future. And this is a fact, man. We're the pioneers of this. Like we started this, okay? So I want y'all, we have a lot of science, a lot of data that's backing everything that I'm saying, okay? I'm gonna link everything down below. I want you to check out N83. I really want you to give it a try, all right? I always do my part to, whenever I uncover a stone and find a cool gem that enhances my life and people around me, I share it with my squad. I share it with my people. So I always give y'all the new tips or the new tactics or the new protocols that we're finding that is giving us a better life, a more graceful life. I'm really passionate about helping people, and this is a way that I can do it on a big level, okay? Introducing you to things that are really good for you. You know that my intentions are pure. These things are very listen, it is what it is. I am an entrepreneur. I work in sports nutrition as well as food, but these are not products. These are not products that's easy to sell. It's not you don't pop a fat burner and you just rage. This is something that takes one that is really interested in enhancing their lives and optimizing their lives and the functions of their body in the right way. This is who this is for, okay? And that's not an easy sell. You know what I mean? So this is not what this is about. I'm about helping y'all ascend to a higher level, mentally and physically, okay? Because it's all connected. So I want y'all to go ahead and give it a read. We got the links down below, and then if you want to try NAD3, try it. All right, you're going to love it. All right, people who know, they know. There's a lot of people that really know, they know, and they're on it. Okay, don't be left out. There was a time when you had to be super rich to have access to some of these high caliber, high quality ingredients and things like that that really helps enhance people's lives for the better. But that day is done. You know what I'm saying? You got people like us bringing it to the masses. Okay, you don't see this on a typical supplement company's website. You know what I mean? But you know what we're about. We're about that next level ascension, and we really give a fuck about y'all. Real shit. So that's why we come up with these products and we market it and bring it out to y'all. Okay. All right. So anyway, I'm about to hop out of here. I love y'all. Hope y'all having a great day and having a good week. And I'll holler at y'all later. All right. Peace.
All right, brother. See you later. So, the last one we're gonna look up since we're still here is COQ10. I want to know about them before I order them. Okay. Ooh, benefits for fertility. I'm checking for that brother again. But if not, we're gonna scroll back up. Hmm. Okay. We're gonna go back up.
I can't let diabetes get in the way. Got way too much stuff.
The health benefits of coenzyme Q10. Coenzyme Q10 is a vitamin-like compound which is very important for the human body. The body makes this on its own, but you can also get it from certain foods or taking a supplement. Coenzyme Q10 plays a very important role in making cellular energy, repairing damage within the cells, and protecting the heart and brain. In today's video, we will take a look at 16 facts and benefits of coenzyme Q10 for the human body and how to get more of this into your diet. 1. Energy production. Coenzyme Q10 is a powerful antioxidant which helps to generate energy in your cells. It helps to strengthen the mitochondria. These are the small energy factories within your cells which produce cellular energy called ATP. 2. Supplement. Although the body makes coenzyme Q10 on its own in the liver, taking a supplement can really help to supercharge its health benefits. We recommend ubiquinol. This is the more expensive version, however is 8 times better absorbed, meaning that you need less of it. You can also help your liver to make more coenzyme Q10 by consuming foods rich in vitamin C, folate, trace minerals, and B vitamins. 3. Sources. Coenzyme Q10 is also present in certain foods such as organ meats, beef liver, fatty fish, and cod liver oil. 4. Egg quality. Research shows that taking a supplement of coenzyme Q10 helps to improve egg quality in women, especially over the age of 35. This can lead to a better chance of achieving a healthy pregnancy. 5. Muscle growth. By helping to produce ATP energy, coenzyme Q10 can also give you more energy when you are exercising. This antioxidant helps your mitochondrial function, which helps your muscles to contract and relax during exercise. Taking a daily supplement can also help to protect the muscles from damage by reducing oxidative stress. This is very helpful for those who take part in competitive sports and high-intensity training. 6. Skin health. The body needs coenzyme Q10 and vitamin C to produce collagen for healthy skin. Collagen is a connective protein which keeps the skin's elasticity, making it vibrant and youthful. Coenzyme Q10 also reduces free radical damage to the skin, which often occurs with age. 7. Heart health. Coenzyme Q10 is often used as a supplement for those with heart disease or cardiovascular problems. If you have high blood pressure or poor circulation to the heart, not enough oxygen will reach this large muscle, causing poor energy production in the heart muscle cells. Coenzyme Q10 helps to feed the mitochondrial energy factories to help your heart contract properly. This improves its ability to pump blood around the entire body. 8. Lower blood pressure. If you have hypertension or high blood pressure, taking a regular supplement of coenzyme Q10 can help to bring this back to its normal range. It improves elasticity in the artery walls. We also recommend consuming lots of mineral-rich foods like sea kelp, mussels, and cruciferous vegetables. 9. Gum health. Research shows that coenzyme Q10 also decreases the risk of gum disease and supports gum health. Its antioxidant function helps to regulate the inflammatory response within the tissues of the mouth to protect against this problem. 10. Nerve health. Many people suffer with poor nerve health because of oxidative stress and inflammation. Poor nerve health can lead to Parkinson's disease and muscular dystrophy. Coenzyme Q10 can help to protect against these problems and slow their progression. 11. Sperm health. Studies also show that getting more coenzyme Q10 into the diet can improve sperm health and its motility. This is excellent for men who are trying for a baby, especially older men who have hormone imbalances and prostate issues. 12. Migraines. If you suffer with migraines, then getting more of this compound into your body may help. Abnormal mitochondrial function can lead to calcification of your brain, resulting in lower energy in the brain cells and migraines. Coenzyme Q10 goes in and helps to heal the mitochondria and reduce inflammation that may occur during migraines. 13. Diabetes. Also, by healing the mitochondria in your cells, coenzyme Q10 can help those with diabetes. Studies show that taking this improves insulin sensitivity and controlling blood sugar levels. Diabetics also tend to be very deficient in this antioxidant. 14. Cancer. Low levels of coenzyme Q10 have been shown to increase the risk of cancer by 53.3%. The body needs this to fight oxidative damage in the DNA parts of the mitochondria in your cells. 15. Lung health. Studies show that supplementing with coenzyme Q10 reduces inflammation in the lungs, which aids breathing in those with asthma. By helping to fight oxidative damage, coenzyme Q10 improves oxygenation of the body, strengthens the lungs, and also helps those with COPD. 16. Dosage. As we mentioned earlier, ubiquinol is the best form of coenzyme Q10 to take. The standard dose ranges from 100 to 200 milligrams per day. However, dosages of up to 500 milligrams are well tolerated. Since this is a fat-soluble compound, you need a strong digestive system in order to break it down. If you suffer with indigestion or have had your gallbladder removed, we recommend taking an ox bile supplement alongside coenzyme Q10 to help you absorb it. As you can see, coenzyme Q10 is an absolutely essential antioxidant in the human body and can be supplemented to increase its effects. Remember that this substance is found in nearly every cell of the human body, so is fundamental for moving electrons and oxidative cellular functions. To learn more about nutrition and healthy foods, please see our other videos. Thank you very much.
I read a review and somebody said it made them sleepy. Do one more.
Try this 6-second method tonight to reverse type 2 diabetes. Most people continue to take blood sugar medications because they've been brainwashed by the medical establishment to believe diabetes is a hereditary condition. Even though new studies are showing this to be completely false. If you or a loved one is suffering from diabetes, prediabetes, or high blood sugar levels, then this latest discovery could change your life. An award-winning doctor from Arizona has just revealed the real root cause of high blood sugar levels, and it has nothing to do with.
So what is CoQ10 good for? I'm talking about coenzyme Q10. Now, what is a coenzyme? It's something that helps an enzyme. And there's a lot of different enzymes in the body that go way beyond just digestion. There are enzymes that help perform many different functions. There are proteins that are involved in all the biochemical pathways in the body, from making energy to making hormones to helping you detoxify poisonous chemicals. Now, CoQ10 is found in every single cell in your body. It's an extremely powerful antioxidant, but its main job is to stabilize membranes. Membranes are outer coverings of certain things, like your cell membranes have this outer fat layer. Very, very important in holding the voltage of the cell, because the cell is like a battery. Without that membrane, you wouldn't be able to hold the voltage. So it's a very key part of all cells. Also, the membrane around the mitochondria, which is the energy factory, needs CoQ10 to help transport electrons through this process into ATP, which is the energy currency of the body. All the lipoprotein membranes need coenzyme Q10, as in HDL, LDL, and these are just proteins that carry cholesterol through the body and then back from the body back to the liver. So CoQ10 helps stabilize membranes, especially in areas of your body which you're generating a lot of energy, okay? As in the heart, the brain, the kidney, the liver, and your muscles. So we need coenzyme Q10 because if you're generating a lot of energy, you're also generating a lot of free radical damage and oxidation. So CoQ10 helps to counter that. Now, here's the thing. When someone takes a statin, they completely block CoQ10. And if you're going to block this enzyme, you're going to create a lot of side effects, especially muscle damage. Okay? So if you're on a statin, you need to be taking CoQ10. Also, if you have any nutritional deficiencies, you're going to be deficient in CoQ10 because that sets you up for not creating CoQ10 in the first place. If you have inflammatory conditions, and there's many different kinds, autoimmune, like MS, diabetes, you're going to need CoQ10. So CoQ10 can help any type of heart condition. It's good for athletes that generate a lot of oxidation. It's good for people that have migraines and headaches. It's good for anyone that has chronic inflammation. If you're taking a lot of medication, it's good to take. And also it's good to prevent cancer because cancer results from a lot of damage to your DNA. And so if you're taking CoQ10, you can actually help prevent some of that damage.
Hey, before you go real quick, I have a course entitled How to Bulletproof Your Immune System. It's a free course. I want you to take it. And here's why. Here's you. Here is your environment. Everyone.
Okay, so I'm gonna go on and get out of here, y'all. This was good, but I gotta go. All right, peace and power, and I'm out.